Okay, the version from the Snyderverse. In this reality, Superman is basically a criminal who saves the world from General Zod solely because the plot demands it. He stole some guy's clothes in one scene and more or less destroyed some truck in another scene because it belonged to some guy who was being a jerk. The only reason that Superman in that universe became Superman instead of, well, Brightburn is because the plot demanded it. He did kill General Zod, which makes his actions in the next movie completely hypocritical. Okay, Superman has a problem with Batman's actions in Batman v Superman. I'm just gonna say it. Superman is a complete fucking hypocrite in this movie. He is a villain. A lot of these retards say that Batman is the villain of the movie. Well, if he is a villain, then the same goes for Superman. Superman apparently has a problem with Batman branding the criminals of Gotham City, where he, 2 years prior, more or less killed General Zod in a one-on-one fight, and more or less committed a massive act of endangerment. Metropolis was not evacuated. Superman more or less put tons of people in danger while fighting General Zod, and this did not bother him. If anything, he was asked whether or not he would, go down the General Zod route in Man of Steel. And his response was, "I'm from Kansas. I'm as American as it gets." By that logic, Batman v Superman would have seen Superman go down the Overman route. In the 2020s, that's a line that has aged really poorly. More than obvious that Superman has a problem with Batman's methods. And a lot of people would call him a serial killer in this movie. But I'm just gonna state the obvious. If Batman is a serial killer in Batman v Superman, then Superman is essentially General Zod 2.0. No difference between the two of them. Because in the Nightmare timeline, it is heavily alluded that Superman joined Darkseid of his own free will. And that's kind of what makes him a simp and a white knight in this movie. He's so horny for Lois Lane that the minute she died, he decided that he would be the next General Zod. In the beginning of the movie, Lois Lane was about to be executed for a crime she actually committed because she got greedy chasing a story for her stupid journalism career, and yeah, Superman saved her and a lot of people got killed. Saving the damsel in distress, Superman committed both obstruction of justice and even more murder. Okay, Superman is having a negative reaction to Batman's newly adopted methods. But in the vast series of multiverses that is comic books, you do not show up to another hero's city and tell him how to be a vigilante. that is akin to a fantasy series where one side is in the right, one side isn't, and the side who isn't in the right just shows up and says, "We don't agree with how you run your country. We think we could run it better. So we're just gonna attack your nation, enslave you all, and murder your king." Yeah, you know that big fight? The one every idiot on the internet won't shut up about? And because of the whole Martha controversy, Superman was the one who actually started it. Yes, Batman was in Metropolis. Yes, he did steal the kryptonite. But for all Superman knew, Batman was just beating up criminals like he always does. Superman started the fight. When he said, "Next time they shine that light in the sky, don't answer it," that was more or less Superman threatening Batman. I'm just gonna say it. In the DCEU, Clark Kent is a criminal. Superman is a villain in that reality. He smashed some guy's truck just for being a jerk, stole some random guy's clothes in Man of Steel. Like we previously covered, he nearly started a war to protect the woman he's horny for, like a white knight would, and he ripped the hood off the Batmobile. Yes, this guy is not a vigilante. In this universe, Superman is 100% criminal. The only reason General Zod was the villain instead of someone like Lex Luthor is because, well, they needed a planetary threat to make Superman look like a hero. Because if it was basically just Lex Luthor, in the eyes of everyone, including Batman, who already knew that this guy is evil, he would not look good in the public if he just beat up Lex Luthor. It would just basically come off as two villains who had a disagreement and are now fighting each other over it. Batman's motivations in this universe come from the fact that, well, Superman is not using his powers responsibly. He was there during the events of Man of Steel. Superman was putting tons of innocent lives in danger because apparently he couldn't have worked out a plan with the military to lure Zod away from his doomsday device so Superman could fight him in a desolate area where there'd be no casualty. Batman's resolve only grew stronger when he was given a glimpse into the future, i.e., a vision of the Nightmare timeline, where Superman more or less joined Darkseid and helped him more or less turn the world into a living hell. And I know there are going to be idiots in the comment section who are going to bring up the argument, "Oh, Superman fell to the anti-life equation because Lois died. It's not his fault. He was mind-controlled." No, he was not mind-controlled. It was recently stated that Superman joined Darkseid in the Nightmare timeline, all three versions of it, of his own free will. Because when you look at the Nightmare timeline's version of the Justice League, every person here has suffered the kind of loss that would make them susceptible to the anti-life equation. How could characters like Mira, who lost her husband Aquaman, the Flash, who failed at clearing his father's name, and Cyborg, who lost his father and mother, why would they be immune to the anti-life equation? Batman, it makes sense that he'd be immune. The guy's had over 25 years of rage-induced training, both mentally and physically. The guy's basically immune to all forms of mind control. So it makes sense that he'd be this timeline's main savior. And Superman was not mind controlled. The guy acted as a hero, but only because he was horny for Lois Lane. When she died, when she died, every urge within him to be a hero died with her. And the Kryptonian who teamed up with Darkseid to conquer the multiverse basically decided to show his home reality who he was on the inside. This is a very good depiction of the DCEU Superman. And when Superman threatened Batman, his resolve may have been complete, but yeah, Superman starts the fight. Well, he was the one who picked the fight, and did it in the most arrogant and White Knight way possible, as in every word he said was dripping with his massive ego. So yeah, he deserved what he got. And now I'm just gonna say that this version of Superman has another White Knight quality, and that's no integrity whatsoever. This is shown when he allowed Lex Luthor to practically blackmail him by kidnapping Martha Kent and agreeing to fight Batman under those circumstances, essentially becoming Lex Luthor's attack dog. Just look at Man of Steel. If this version of Superman had any integrity, I'm just gonna say it. He would have saved Jonathan Kent's life. If keeping his mother alive was truly that important, that it would require Superman to do very horrid things, something that I will expand on, he would not give in to this kind of blackmail. Martha would be so disappointed. In fact, she might actually even hate him for it. A lot of people will say that, Martha was his only family, so he had to keep her alive. But my argument is that if family is your big argument, then why did he let his father die in the last movie? He was more than happy to conceal his powers and let Jonathan Kent die. What makes his mother so special? Because this guy is a gynocentric asshole who was raised by terrible parents. I know there are a lot of idiots who have tried rewriting Batman v Superman because they think they can do it better. But let me tell you what would have really happened from an in-universe perspective if Batman kills Superman. If Batman kills Superman, then, Batman will then go on to kill Lex Luthor and stop Doomsday from being released. Then he will go on to form the Justice League, and yeah, the whole thing will happen just like in the actual canon, but with no Superman. If you do need an extra member, there are tons of heroes who are active in the DCEU, or Batman could even come up with the idea of sicking sicking Doomsday on Steppenwolf like an attack dog. Maybe even we'd even get an ending where Doomsday kills Darkseid. But either way, Superman's death is for the greater good. The Nightmare timeline will not happen under any circumstances. No Superman to be turned evil. Darkseid would have no allies, and the Justice League would kill him. If Superman kills Batman, well, this is happening the way Luthor wanted it to, so the entire world would see that Superman killed another hero. He went to another hero's city, killed him, and in the months to follow, Superman would go to other cities, killing off their heroes, and anyone else on Lex Luthor's hit list. As time would go on, Superman's body count would grow longer and longer, basically just to keep his mother safe. And that's something that White Knight characters kind of have in common. They put their horrible bitch mothers on pedestals. And Superman would have killed a bunch of innocent people. Some may have been criminals, some vigilantes, some guilty, some innocent. But it wouldn't make what Superman's doing okay. If anything, it would make his mother ashamed and actually hate him. But keeping her alive is his top priority. If Superman had killed Batman, he would have basically become everything the people in this movie said he was. In other words, he didn't deserve to redeem himself by fighting Doomsday. A better ending to this movie would have seen Batman kill Superman, save Martha Kent, and then go on to team up with Wonder Woman to kill Doomsday and form the Justice League. Because death is not the worst thing you can do to a White Knight character. When Finn was defeated by Rattleballs in a fair sword fight, he wanted the robot to kill him. And another thing that people don't really seem to realize about this movie that does put Superman in the White Knight category is that Lex Luthor was able to get the ultimate revenge. He took the one thing Superman wanted in his movie. His goal in this movie was defeating Batman and unmasking him and turning him into the GCPD. Even though with Superman that would have been a terrible idea, as Batman would have somehow pieced together Superman as Clark Kent, in an act of revenge, leaked his secret identity, and we would have gotten the Nightmare timeline regardless. But the point being, he couldn't do that, but defeating Batman was his goal. And you're probably wondering, how does this work? Well, usually the best way to get revenge on a white knight is to find out what his goal is and basically turn it into the last thing he would ever want. In this case, he took the title fight with Batman and turned it into something that would have permanently damned Superman in the eyes of the public. To the point where, okay, in Batman v Superman, we're supposed to see Batman as being in the wrong because he started branding criminals, showing that Batman is crossing the line into extremist territory. Batman only started taking extremist measures because the Joker killed Robin. Zack Snyder is obviously trying to go with themes of grief and what they can drive people to do. After losing Lois Lane, Superman instantly turns to villainy. This incel only saved the day because he was horny for Lois and wanted to have sex with her. The minute she died was the minute this universe's Superman showed the world his true nature when he was willing to work with or for Darkseid and help him enslave humanity. Showing that despite what Batman says or may have said in Justice League, Superman had no humanity. He was a monster. In turn, we have two heroes at odds with each other. One deals with his grief by taking more extreme measures. After 20 years of his measures not being effective enough and getting his sidekick killed. The other basically turns to genocide when the cunt that he wanted to have sex with got herself killed. Lois Lane in this movie is a greedy, good-for-nothing little bitch who nearly got herself executed trying to get a good scoop. Yeah, and finding out that Lex Luthor framed Superman is not a redemption. It's basically supporting a villain. And in nearly getting herself executed, like I constantly had been hammering in, Superman saved her and nearly started a war, which would have gotten a whole ton of people killed, because he couldn't stand the thought of the cunt that he wants to have sex with getting killed. And in the hypothetical future where it happens, he instantly turns to genocide. Between the two, it's a fight between an extremist and an asshole who's eventually going to commit an act of genocide and nearly wipe out the human race if he's not killed here and now. I don't know about you, but I would go with the extremist in a heartbeat. And you know that this version of Superman is clearly a villain, or at the least a douchebag, when the best thing he can do for the world, as seen in The Flash, is to not exist.